Coming up on Theater Talk.
As far as diversity goes, it should include what the world is.
Right.
Correct.
We're all here.
Right.
We're all in it.
Right.
And our art reflects that. Why isn't it all acknowledged?
Right.
It should all be acknowledged. If we're all putting something in the pool of the entertainment, all of that should be looked at. And until then, it's not fair.
Yeah.
Now, Susan, we just saw The Color Purple, a revival on Broadway, and I have to tell you, it is one of the best musicals I have seen in a long time. It's directed by our old friend, Mr. John Doyle, making his umpteenth appearance on Theater Talk. Star Broadway director.
I don't like that word old.
How about veteran? You
That'll
prefer
do.
that? Veteran
Quote the
director.
veteran, yeah.
John has assembled an absolutely superb cast for The Color Purple, and I'm delighted tonight to be joined by Danielle Brooks as Sophia. Welcome to Theater Talk.
Thank you so much.
A brilliant new discovery for us here on Broadway. Cynthia Erivo as Celie. Welcome. From England.
Yes.
Welcome to America.
Thank you.
And, this minor pop star you may have heard of before. What's her name? Jennifer Hudson, who is making her Broadway debut as Shug. Welcome all and congratulations on the
Thank
success of the
you.
show.
Thank you very much.
I love the chemistry among these three.
Oh, yeah.
And
So,
I'm going to ask Jennifer, when did you decide to commit to a Broadway show? I mean, you have a gigantic singing career. You can play all over the world. And now it's 8 performances a week
Wow.
for the foreseeable future.
Well, it was something I've always wanted to do.
Yeah.
And for me, in my life, I always say, I have like time frames of when I want things to happen. And I said, when I turned 35, I want to do Broadway. And it just happened to be at 34, and the timing was right. And I literally got a call asking if I wanted to do Color Purple. And I was like, sure. It was like not even a second thought about it.
You're a big star. Did anybody on your team say, well, Jennifer, you can't, this is a supporting role?
No,
No. All right.
not at all.
It's just a strong part.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it was more up to me than anything. I was like, yep, I'll do it. Yep, I'll be there. And I really didn't think much else about it, but those turned out to be the most successful things for me, the things that I'm just like, okay, whatever, let's do it. And this was one of those moments, and I felt like I reacted to Color Purple in that way so quickly because it's real. It speaks of reality, and I've always say, if you are living, you can relate to Color Purple, no matter what color you are, no matter what age you are. It's like looking at Celie's story, for instance, like you sit and you watch her go through all of these life struggles and setbacks. And when you see her make it through it, it lets you know you can make it through whatever you're going through.
You see the woman who's so abused,
Yes.
this monstrous life that she is supposed to lead, being conscripted into marriage. I am so haunted by the oppression that she has to overcome.
Resilience.
Yeah.
I think that's ultimately what the story is about, resilience, fighting through. And I think it's relatable because that's what everyone goes through.
Everyone goes through something.
In some way.
Yes.
We go through that personally.
Sadly, The Color Purple is not out of date.
No.
No.
Right.
Completely.
It's so current.
No,
That's
because the
it's real.
idea that she has to go and not only be basically raped by this guy all the time, but cook and clean for him and take care of his house, and that is, and be separated from her sister, and that is her life.
Yeah.
But one thing I also like to bring to the table is she is the main character. But there's also, you look at Mr. and look at his story and all of the things that he's fighting against. Sophia being beaten by her husband and trying to get her marriage. Like, if you go through every character, we're all dealing
Someone
with
to connect
some type
to.
of, Yeah.
That's the hard one, isn't it? Mister, who's the man that you have to marry and who gives you a bad time about 80%
Yeah, we don't come off too well in The Color Purple in the beginning.
Do you have sympathy for him in the end? You just said you did. I do not.
I never think of it as sympathy. I think that it's an acceptance of someone who didn't quite understand how to go through life and is just now learning.
Oh, yeah. And he changes as
Yeah,
much as
he
she
does. Very much so.
Well, if he only knew, like an abused child, if he only knew
Right.
the system that abused him,
Exactly.
all he knows is how to respond to something with violence.
And that's why that scene with his father is in the play.
Yeah.
So will we cut the same slack to slaveholders?
Well,
Different kind of thing.
It's not to forgive him.
she got us on that one.
It's not to forgive him for his behavior, but it's to understand it.
Right.
Yeah.
And
Yes.
sometimes
Yeah.
you can deal with things better when you have an understanding of where they come from.
And I think as a people, we have done that.
Yeah.
Yes,
I
yes.
definitely-
Right now we're in the Oscar time, and of course right now we're having this
Diversity.
issue.
Yeah.
You've worked in Hollywood. You're on a hit TV show. You will be working in Hollywood and on a hit TV show soon.
Thank you.
What is your reaction to this Oscars so white controversy?
I think that right now, on Broadway particularly, we're having a great time when it comes to diversity anyway. So I feel like we're sort of a living example of what it can be everywhere else.
You and your show, yes.
Yes, not just our show. I don't think just our show. I think
Broadway.
Broadway.
Yeah,
It's amazing.
Broadway
For once in its
itself.
time, Broadway's ahead of
You know,
everybody else.
Do you know?
I think we have to broaden what we
Yeah.
say is diversity.
Yeah.
Because diversity isn't just throwing a black person
No.
or a black show into
No.
a space, and that's called diversity. That's not diverse. Well, to me, theater and Broadway is so diverse
Right.
because you have shows that are classical, you have new pieces, you have the plays, the musicals, the hip hop, that's what makes up diversity to me.
Yeah.
Do you think, though, that in the business that there's still this built-in racism to the system?
I don't want to say it's racism. I think people aren't aware,
Yeah.
or choosing to ignore, and not understanding how it's affecting people.
Yeah.
I think.
May I ask a question?
Please.
How was it in your year when you won your
Yes.
Oscar?
In what way do you mean?
Well, how was it as a young African-American woman, as a young black woman, winning an Oscar in that environment, which must have been very shocking?
What I would say, if anything, that I do remember most is I thought it was a blessing and a little odd to be only the fourth African American woman
I know.
to win. I think as in supporting or just period. Just now it's about 8 of us. You know, in our day and age, that should be unheard of today.
Unheard of.
And to be the first African American singer to grace the cover of Vogue or the first African American anything, it's like we're still on the first.
And in leading actresses, I think there are only 2 women to have won a leading role for an Oscar.
And I just think
Which is like,
as far as diversity goes, it should include what the world is.
right.
Correct.
We're all here.
Right.
We're all in it.
Right.
And our art reflects that. Why isn't it all acknowledged?
Right.
It should all be acknowledged. If we're all putting something in the pool of the entertainment, all of that should be looked at. And until then, it's not fair.
Yeah.
Now, Susan, one of my favorite actors is Jeff Daniels, who not only is a terrific film actor, but really one of our great American stage actors. Welcome to Theater Talk.
Thank you.
And congratulations on the success of the play he is in now, giving a harrowing, brilliant, and unforgettable performance in Blackbird by David Harrower at the Belasco Theater. Congratulations on the success of the play.
Thank you very much.
We recently had Reed Birney here, and you were his understudy
I
on
was.
Broadway and Gemini.
I was.
But tell us about that. We were talking about your understudy experience.
Marshall Mason got me because I was in New York for about a year, and I was threatening to leave. I wanted to go back and work at the lumber company. He was going, "No, you're not. Stay here." And he said, "I'm going to give you a job as an understudy." Gemini, Albert Inaudito's play was moving to Broadway with Danny Aiello and everybody. They had very, very successful circle rep. And you're going to understudy 3 roles. You're going to understudy Reed Birney, Bob Picardo, and Jonathan Hodari.
John, yeah.
And I'm going, wow, Broadway. I can do that. And I literally had colored the script in 3 different colors. I had it down. I could do each one. I was there every night for 5 months. Never went up. Never went up. I remember Picardo throwing up in a bucket at 5 minutes to 8 going, "Bob, I'm in the clothes. I'm in the clothes."
But those are the professionals. My friends of mine, like Harvey Firestein, say, you know, with some of the kids, he's a hairspray. They go to the dentist and they call out for the whole day.
Oh,
Yes,
man,
your
when we were
thoughts on
doing-
that, yeah.
When we were doing God of Carnage, we heard about West Side. Was it West Side Story?
Yes, the kids. Yeah, they were. Yeah.
Kids were driving. They'd get hung over. They wouldn't show up for
Exactly.
the Wednesday matinee. And I remember telling Gandolfini, Jim was sort of new to the theater scene. we hired the understudies, you know, during previews, and Jim said, when do they go on? I said, they go on in Baltimore, they go on in Philly, they go on in D.C. We don't miss a show.
Did he miss? Or did he never
Jim
miss?
Gandolfini never missed a
Great,
show.
yeah.
256 shows from March 1st to Thanksgiving. Didn't miss a show.
That's good.
So then we heard about the West Side Story kids dropping out.
Yeah.
And I'm going, oh, let me over there. Let me over there. Let me over
What would you say? Yeah. I mean,
Yeah, what would you
Get
tell-
out of here. I'd say get out of here. Go home. You're not. This isn't how it's done. It's okay. It's okay. We don't need you.
I'm not naming names, but recently had a big, though aging movie star starring in a play, and he had an IFB in his ear, and he did not have stage presence. But I'm sure that his people lulled him into believing he could do it.
I'm not going to bash guys who
Yeah.
who didn't know.
Yeah.
You know, Pacino had gotten for China Doll had gotten written up about that, and I'm
Well, but
here,
he was better than you think.
and I'm not in my 70s, and it's
Right.
you just can't keep
Yeah.
him in there, and
Yeah.
so and I know that's been.
But
happening
this
to
isn't
some-
him. No.
No, but if it's just laziness, if it's just you and your approach, you don't need to be here.
But isn't it a different skill, a different energy to
Oh my
hold
God.
stage?
Of course.
Oh my God! I mean, in Blackbird, imagine if we had earwigs in Blackbird. Boom, 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 boom,
Oh my
boom,
God.
boom, 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 boom. We're waiting for some guy with a script. You know? Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? I told Michelle, I said, we're going to get good reviews just because we know our damn lines.
Exactly. I have been harping on this in my column. You have a job to do, and if you're an actor on the stage, the job is
How
to
much
know
are
the
they
line.
paying? How much are they paying to see you on Broadway? Too much money. But you have an obligation to the people paying this amount of money to throw everything you got at it 8 times a week. I don't give a damn if it's a Wednesday matinee.
Yeah, right.
Throw everything you got at it. Otherwise, go home. Get somebody else. And that goes to the kids that are dropping out and I didn't come in Thursday night, but get out of here. Get out of here. You don't get it. Bring everything you got every night. Find a way to get there every night. It's not okay to phone it in. It's not okay to kind of sort of do it because it's Thursday.
I hope you don't think I'm being rude. Why did you take Dumber Dumber 2?
The career was not going well.
For Dumb and Dumber 2?
Oh, 2?
Yes.
I wanted to be with Jim
Oh,
again.
you want to be with Jim. Okay.
How much money? I wanted to be with
Well,
Jim.
Hey, work is work.
I really did want to be with Jim again.
And it didn't affect you, but you've just been Will McAvoy. Will McAvoy.
Oh, but that's the fun of it.
That was what I thought.
That's the fun of it, because guys like Michael, they'll write and they'll go, well, or not, but certainly in Hollywood, they'll go, okay, they want to brand you.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I mean, you see the action guys, you know, the
Yes,
the
and they're
Cruises and the
branded, yeah.
Schwarzeneggers and the Stallone, all those guys, the action guys, Bruce Willis, and they've got great careers. God bless them. I mean, they were doing that since Gable and Tracy.
Yeah,
You'd Cagney, you'd get the one thing, Edward G. Robinson, and you'd play to that. And you had a great career. You made a lot of money.
Yeah.
It's great. That's okay. I just didn't want to do that. To win the Emmy for McAvoy on a Sunday night, which, by the way, was a huge surprise in that room when
Yeah.
they called my name.
Really?
So not
Even
to
to you?
me. Not to me. 'cause
Oh,
I
it
never
was,
made
trust
it.
me.
Yeah,
I was
really.
at someone else's party.
Oh, well.
And when they had said my name,
And the Emmy goes to Jeff Daniels.
there was a woman behind me as I was getting up, said, "What?"
Dumb.
Got up, but to win the Emmy on a Sunday night, and then Tuesday morning, day 1 of Dumb and Dumber 2, crossing the street,
All right.
getting
All
off the
right.
bus with a butt crack showing. I'm going, yeah, I think this is range.
All right.
Susan, we've come to the end of yet another Broadway season.
Another Broadway season.
So, to make sense of all the musicals and plays that we've seen, to sort the good from the bad, we have invited our esteemed panel of critics. Welcome my colleague Elisabeth Vincentelli from the New York Post.
Hello.
Ben Brantley from the New York Times.
Hello.
And Peter Marks from the Washington Post. Elizabeth, on Ivo, the different kind of director, Ivo van Hove.
Very different.
Very different, yes. I mean, he's European, and there is this European style where the play becomes secondary to the concept of the
Well,
direction.
it's not secondary at all. It's just a different way to approach it. The play is not secondary at all in the Crucible or View from the Bridge,
which he directed.
It's very much there. It's just a different way to approach it. And I think in the case of someone like Ivo van Hove dealing with Arthur Miller, especially with the Crucible, what's important is doesn't have the baggage of having grown up with it and having enjoyed it in high school.
I think that's right.
That's really smart.
It comes at it from a like I had never seen the Crucible. I didn't grow up with it.
Right.
You know, so
Right, McCarthyism isn't really a European issue, so he doesn't have to
No.
deal with it. To bring back The Crucible, which is a fabulous production in my estimation,
lovely,
we
yeah.
all seem to agree. You know, the idea of like bringing back to the idea of the supernatural in that play and trying to understand, you know, what people in the 17th century might have thought about supernaturalism and transpose that to what we think today. And it's certainly so relevant given what's going on in this country with, you know, the belief systems like run amok on social media through this, you know, crazy
Well, it is
campaign.
just.
And to shift briefly to A View from the Bridge, which I hope doesn't get forgotten since it's no longer with us. I mean that
for Tony's, you mean
yeah,
Tony time?
he brought. I mean that is essentially a Greek tragedy, and Arthur Miller wrote it as a Greek tragedy. But in every naturalistic production, when you have, you know, the lawyer sort of pontificating, saying, "I'm telling you the story of a man, and I can't unsee it," it never quite fits together. And to put it into what is essentially a classical Greek amphitheater environment in modern terms, it just makes it so raw, and it seems like it's happening forever, sort of in eternity.
I think having someone like Ivo van Hove on Broadway is just as seismic as having Hamilton.
Right.
I'm really serious because it's opening people's eyes to a different style of directing on Broadway that we'd never see on
I
Broadway.
think that's very true.
Yeah.
And people will say, oh, Hamilton is revolutionary. Actually, no, it's not. Only in one way. The show itself is not revolutionary, neither in structure nor form. What's revolutionary about it, it's its impact. And having someone like Ivo van Hove on Broadway is just as revolutionary because people now will be like, it doesn't have to be naturalistic. I can have just like this empty set and a shower of blood. That's okay.
Yeah,
it happens. So in a way,
Yes.
you're getting people and audiences to a new grammar, a new vocabulary, a new system of thinking about a play that's opening up it's opening up so many options.
I studied the historical background. I know where it played. I read this fabulous book now, The Witches. You know, which when you read that, you know everything. But to put that literally on stage in a realistic way, that doesn't interest me too much. I think that's much better for movies or things like that. And the theater is for me a world of imagination. We should tell the audience that buys tickets stories that are important for them, for us today, you know, and not like yesterday, not like, oh, in somewhere in time people were like that. No, we are still like that. Listen, these people in Salem believe that witches exist, that the unnatural, or how do you say that in good English, not that exists, that there are things that we cannot see but that we feel, and that for them it's there. So I wanted also the audience to have that sense, you know, like, oh, perhaps it's real. Oh, Betty, she flies. Oh, yes. Oh, did I see that? Oh, it's gone already. You know. So I wanted this feeling of. I wanted the audience to be part of that community and not look at these crazy people believing in witches.
George, what is the story of your life that inspired this musical?
Well, I grew up in 2 U.S. internment camps. I was 5 years old at the time that the soldiers came to our home in Los Angeles. And literally at bayoneted gunpoint, we were ordered out of our home.
And this was 1942, right?
1942, yes. I just turned 5 years old in April 20th, and it was a few weeks after that. And we were taken from our home to the horse stables of Santa Anita Racetrack because the camps weren't finished building yet. And each family was assigned one horse stall. I had 2 siblings. My baby sister was still a baby, not yet a year old, and my brother was a year younger. And all 5 of us were to sleep in this smelly horse stall. But to 5-year-old me, living in that horse stall was a lot of fun because I could smell the horses. We get to sleep where the horses sleep. So, my experience is that of a child from 5 to 8.5. Totally different from that of my parents
How did the American government explain the relocation to your parents at the moment it was happening?
It was for national security. And we happened to look like the people that bombed Pearl Harbor. And there was no other explanation beyond that. We were innocent American citizens. My mother was born in Sacramento, California. My father was a San Franciscan. The kids were born in Los Angeles. And yet, because of our race, we were rounded up and imprisoned. And it was the most egregious violation of the Constitution because there were no charges, and therefore we had no trial. You need charges to challenge in order to have a trial. And they took everything from us. My father says they took my business, they took our home, they took our freedom, and we had punishment.
But you didn't stay in the stables the entire time. You were eventually moved.
It was just a few months.
Right.
And when the construction was completed, we were put on a train and transported 2/3 of the way across the country to the swamps of southeastern Arkansas.
Tell about the loyalty questionnaire, Lamont.
There were two key questions. One asked, will you bear arms to defend the United States of America?
And the government sent this to all the interned.
Everyone over 17, of the age of 17, had to respond to it, whether you were male or female, 17 or 87, immigrant or American citizen. And that question being asked of an 87-year-old immigrant lady was outrageous. It's preposterous, asking her to bear arms to defend the United States. But even more insidious was question 28, which was one sentence with two conflicting ideas. It asked, will you swear your loyalty to the United States and forswear your loyalty to the Emperor of Japan? The word forswear assumes that there's an existing loyalty, an inborn racial loyalty to the Emperor. And so if you answered, no, I don't have a loyalty to the Emperor to forswear, then you were saying no to the first part of the very same sentence. Do I swear my loyalty to the United States? If you answered yes, meaning I do swear my loyalty to the United States, you were then confessing that you had been loyal to the Emperor and now were ready to forswear it and repledge your loyalty to the United States, thus justifying the internment. It was one of those, when did you stop beating your wife questions. It was outrageous, and my parents said, we will not grovel before this government. They took everything from us, and now they want our dignity.
When did you become aware that that was your parents' attitude?
I was a child then, but when I became a teenager, I was inspired by Dr. Martin Luther King, and I became active in the civil rights movement. I did a civil rights musical, and I met Dr. King, and that was one of the most thrilling experiences to shake his hand and share some words with him. And I couldn't reconcile all these ideals that the civil rights movement was fighting for with what I knew to be my childhood of imprisonment. So I had many long after-dinner conversations with my father. And I learned about our democracy from this man who lost everything in the middle of his life.
And didn't get it back.
And didn't get it back. He had to start from scratch. When the war ended, we came back to Los Angeles, and our first home was on Skid Row in downtown LA.
How old was your father at that point?
He was in his late 30s. So, you know, he had every right to be embittered, and yet he told teenage me that our democracy is a people's democracy, and it can be as great as a people can be, but it is also as fallible as people are. Our democracy is vitally dependent on people who cherish our ideals and actively engage with the process. And then one Sunday afternoon, he took me downtown to the Adlai Stevenson for President headquarters. And he says, we volunteered, but he actually volunteered me. And there I was with passionate people who worked so hard to get Governor Stevenson elected president. We failed, but I understood what our democracy is then. You have to be actively engaged. And so ever since then, I've been a political activist.
When the world is screwed you and crushed you in its fist, when the way you're treated has got you
Our thanks to the Friends of Theater Talk for their significant contribution to this production. Theater Talk is made possible in part by the Frederick Lowe Foundation, the Corey and Bob Dinelli Charitable Fund, the Noel Coward Foundation, Carrie J. Fries, the Dorothy Strelson Foundation, and the New York City Department of Cultural Affairs.
We welcome your questions or comments for Theater Talk. Thank you